Hello everyone, welcome back to Data Handling, Chapter 2 of Class 11 Computer Science. In this part of the video, we'll be talking about operators, precedence, expressions, and the data type conversions. So let's look at each of them one at a time. Operator precedence, what does this mean? This means priority of operators. You must have learned some kind of, BODMAS or DMAS when you were doing maths. And it says that you need to do division before you do addition because of the priority. Similarly, we have learned all operators in our previous two videos, be it arithmetical, logical, relational, identity operators. So if you have expressions that have all these operators, then which one will we do first depends upon the priority of the operators, which is listed on the screen now. Anything that is written in bracket always has the highest priority, and we follow that even in maths. The next priority is given to the exponent operator. The third one, your multiplication, the true division, floor division, modulus, they all have the same priority. Then which one will you do first in an expression is the one that appears first in the expression. When I actually evaluate some expressions, you will come to know. And then you have the addition and subtraction. In the fifth place, you have all your relational operators along with your identity operators. The sixth is the NOT operator. This is our logical operator NOT. Seventh is the AND operator under the logical category. And eighth is the OR operator. Okay. Now, all these operators that we are talking about here, yes, definitely bracket is not an operator, but bracket has the highest priority irrespective of what is there in the bracket. Clear? Okay, now all these operators that we have learned, they all have left to right associativity, except for the exponent operator. Exponent operator is right to left associativity. Now, what do I mean by that? I will be showing you in my examples. But before that, let me take you to a topic called expressions. Now, what is an expression in Python? It's just a Python statement that will consist of operators, could be any of those operators, could consist of variables, or could consist of literals. So a Python statement that can consist of operators, literals, or variables are called expressions. Now we have the following types of literals that we can use or we can see in Python. The first one being the arithmetic expression. Now, if you look at the example given to you here, I have only used arithmetic operators. And those operators are operating on numbers like 4, 3, and 2, which are called literals, or variables A and B. So expressions are nothing but a statement which has operators. What are the operators that you see here? The plus sign, the division sign, the minus sign, and the exponent sign. So it consists of operators, it consists of variables, which is A and B. It can consist of literals, which is 4, 3, and 2. But because this talks about only arithmetical operators, it's called an arithmetic expression. Next, we see relational expression. In relational expression, you only see relational operators. Here you see two operators, the greater and the greater than or equal to, and three variables, x, y, and z. So it's a combination of operators, variables, and literals that makes it an expression. But here you only see relational operators being used. Then you have something called logical expression. There you make use of only logical operators, which are not and or. So you see and not is being used here, and A and B are nothing but variables. Okay. Then we have string expressions. String expressions are in that expression you only see strings. Now you see a plus there. So you might be thinking, oh, it's an arithmetic operator. No, the plus has double roles to play. In strings, it behaves a little differently. When we come to the string chapter, I will let you know about it. And the last category, we call it as a compound expression. That means it's not restricted to only one kind of operator being used. In an expression, you could have a relational, a logical, a arithmetical, depending upon the requirement. And you could have variables, and you can also have literals. Is that clear? Okay, so now keeping this in mind and keeping our priorities in mind, let's just try to evaluate a few statements. These kind of questions you can expect for your examination. Okay, so let me just work it out with you. Okay, I realized previously that the red color is not so visible on the screen. So let me just try, let's say, which color? Let's say green. Okay. So here it says 30 divided by 6 divided by 2. Division operator uses left to right associativity. What do you mean by left to right associativity? That you will start evaluating from the left hand side first. So 30 divided by 6. So this is going to be evaluated first. I'm sorry, I think I need to change the color. Go back to my red. So I'm going to be evaluating 30 divided by 6. So what is 30 divided by 6 going to give me? 30 divided by 6 is nothing but going to give me 5. After that, I'm going to do 5 divided by 2. And what is 5 divided by 2 going to give me answer as 2.5. So this is how the evaluation is done. Here, I didn't have to check for priorities because everything was division. So I did the division that started from the left hand side and moved towards the right hand side. Is that clear? Okay. So now let's talk about another expression. Suppose I have another expression as shown here. 2 exponent, that means star star 3 star star 2. Now what did we learn about exponent operator? The associativity is from right to left. What does that mean? I need to evaluate this first, okay? Because it's not going to be left to right, it's going to go from right to left. So I need to evaluate 3 raised to 2 first. What is 3 raised to 2 going to give me? 9. And then I'm left with 2 asterisk sign, 1 more asterisk sign, 9, which means 2 raised to 9. And 2 raised to 9 is nothing but 512. Okay, but if we had done left to right associativity with exponent, let's see whether we would get the same answer. 2 raised to 3. What is 2 raised to 3? 2 raised to 3 would have been 8. And 8 raised to 2. 8 raised to 2 would have given me 64, which is not the correct way. That is what I meant by left to right associativity and right to left associativity. Only the exponent operator is right to left. All the other operators are left to right associativity. Clear? Okay, let's go to the next question. The next question is, now in the first 2 questions, I only use the same operator. Now I come across so many operators. What are the operators that I see here? I can see the addition, I can see the division, I can see the multiplication, I can see the exponent. Okay, so now which one will I do first? I have to keep that chart in mind which gives me priority. Is there anything in bracket here? No. What was the second priority given to? Second priority was given to exponent operator. So what am I going to be evaluating first? Let me just, I'm going to do 5 raised to 2. 5 raised to 2 is nothing but 25. Okay, I'm still left with 3 plus 8 divided by 2 into 25. Okay, now what am I left with? The addition, the division, and the multiplication. Now, who has higher priority among all the 3? Division and multiplication both have the same priority, but you will do first that appears first. So I'm supposed to be doing 8 divided by 2. So what is 8 divided by 2 going to result into? 4. So you have 3 plus, basically it's going to result into 4.0. Okay, so 3 plus 4.0 into 25. Okay, now I have 2 operators, that is addition plus an asterisk sign, which has the next priority, asterisk sign. So I'm supposed to do 4 into 25. 4 into 25 is nothing but 100. So I have 100.0, okay, and then 3 plus 100.0 is going to be 103.0. Now what you need to remember here is All arithmetic operators, if both the operands are integers, the answer is always an integer. If one of them is floating point, the answer is floating point, except for division operation. In division operation, even if both the operands are integer, in this scenario 8 and 2 both were integers, but the result is always going to be in terms of floating point. So instead of writing 4, it becomes 4.0. Is that clear? Okay, so now these were all arithmetic operators. Let me see if I can show you any other operators being used. Okay, so now I have here a statement which has relational as well as logical operators. Okay, so now let's follow the priority. I'll try solving it here itself. How many operators do you see here? You have the less than, you have and, you have not, you have the greater than sign. But can you see a bracket here? Bracket here means this has to be evaluated first. And we have learned that whenever we use relational operators, it always evaluates to a what? True or a false. So 6 greater than 3. Is it true or a false? It evaluates to a true. So I have all this as it is. Okay, I'm not writing it again, but the bracket evaluated to a true. And now I'm left with which operators? I have the less than sign. Oh, let me just not confuse you. Let me just write it. So even if it takes some time. So let me write 5 less than 7 and not true. So I'm left with how many operators now? Less than sign and not. So which operator has higher priority here? Less than sign. So evaluate that. So when you evaluate that, 5 less than 7. What is 5 less than 7? True or false? True. So this evaluates to a true. So I'm left with true and not true. Correct? Okay. Now you have two operators and not. Which is the next priority? Not. So what does not and not, you remember? It was a unary operator. It works on a single operand. So not true means what? Not of true. Obviously, you're not saying the truth. So what is it? False. So not true gives me false. And finally, what do I have to do? I have to do with a true and a false. And we had learned that the AND operator only gives you true when both its operands, the operand on the left and the operand on the right, evaluates to a true. In this, one of them is true and the other is false. So the answer of this evaluation is false. Okay. So in your class 11 exams, you can expect some evaluation questions. You just have to follow the priorities that were given and start evaluating it step by step. Though you can do multiple things at a time, but I would suggest you go according to priority, like I've done, one step at a time, and then we evaluate. So for sure we know that we are not going to be making any mistakes. Is that clear? So precedence is over. And did you look at the expressions? Some of the expressions were purely arithmetic. Some were the compound expressions because it had mixed, operators being used. Is that clear? Okay, so now let's just move ahead. Next, we're going to be talking about is data type conversion. What does data type conversion means? Converting from one data type to another. What are the data types that you have learned? You learned int, float, complex, str, bool, list, tuple, dict. Now we'll not be talking about list, tuple and dict here. When we do the chapter, dict is dictionary. We'll be doing it then. We'll only be talking about the basic data types. So what does data type conversion? The word itself tells you converting data from one type to another, which means converting an int to a float, or converting an int to a string, or a string to an integer. That's called data type conversion. And Python performs two kinds of data type conversion. One is called the implicit conversion and one is called the explicit conversion. Now, when does implicit conversion take place? If you have an expression, which has data of two types involved, So if you're adding two numbers, one is an int and one is a float, so they are of two different types. In that scenario, implicit conversion takes place. What does implicit mean? Automatically. Does the programmer get involved with the conversion? No, it's already or automatically done by Python for you or the Python interpreter for you. Now, when it does the conversion, what order does it follow? Does it convert anything to anything? No. The last line that tells you that Boolean can be converted to an int or a float or a complex. Int can be converted to a float or a complex. Float can be converted to a complex. Okay. So these conversions are called implicit because you don't have to interfere. If you have expressions with mixed data type, it will all automatically do the conversion for you. Now remember, if you have data with the same type, then there is no need of conversion. I have a complex number added to a complex number. Obviously, the answer is going to be a complex number. But when you have something mixed, then what is the answer going to be is what we are trying to look at here. Okay, so let me just show you my first example. I have A, which is an integer. I have B, which is a floating point value. And then it says C is equal to A into B. So it's A, which is integer, 5, A, which is an integer, and B, which is a floating point value. Now, implicit conversion takes place here. Why? Because they are data of two kinds. And according to implicit conversion, does float get converted to an integer or integer gets converted to a float? Integer gets converted to a float. So they take the value 2, convert it to 2.0, multiply it with 5.0. So when I display the answer, it's not going to show me 10, but it's going to be showing me 10.0. So if I ask you, what is the data type of C? C is a float. Okay, now don't think, some think now A also has become float. No, A continues to remain 2, but in the expression, which is C is equal to A into B, the 2 got converted to 2.0. And who did it? Python interpreter did it automatically because of the concept of, implicit type conversion. Is that clear? Okay. Next, we see another example. Let's say I have a float and I have a Boolean. True is a Boolean, right? Now, will float get converted to a Boolean according to implicit conversion? No, no way. Can Boolean get converted to a float? Yes. Now, remember the arrow is pointing to int. It means a data type can be converted to any other data type to its right. So, Boolean can be converted to an int, to a float, to a complex. Now, the confusion is, how can true be converted to an integer or a float? Internally, true is taken as 1. Okay, so how do I convert it to a float? 1.0, correct? False is taken as 0. How do I convert it to a float? 0.0. So when here I have said C is equal to A plus B. A is float, B is Boolean. Now it has two mixed data types. So what will the interpreter do? Will convert B to float. So true gets converted to float, which is 1.0, because true basically means 1 and false means 0. But I have to convert it to a float. So it makes it 1.0. And 5.0 plus 1.0 is nothing but 6.0. So the data type of C is again going to be a float. Okay, but the answer here is going to be 6.0. Is that clear? Okay. Another example I've taken is where I took an integer and a complex. So can complex get converted to an integer? No. Integer is going to be will be getting converted to complex. So I've written A is this, B is this. So it's written B minus A. B is what? 5 plus 3j. 5 is the real part and 3 is the imaginary part. So I've written 5 plus 3j minus 2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So your answer is going to be 3 plus 3j. Why? Because A, which is an integer, gets converted to a complex number. How do I convert 2 to a complex number? It becomes 2 plus 0j. So 2 plus 0j is subtracted from 5 plus 3j. So the answer is going to be 3 plus 3j. But what is the data type of C here? C is going to be of type complex. Now, did I as a programmer interfere in this? No, it was automatically done by the Python interpreter. Clear? This is meant by implicit data type conversion. Let's look at the next category. It's called the explicit data type conversion. The word explicit means you have to take that effort to do it. It's not going to be done automatically for you. You take a step forward and get it done. So when the programmer is involved in the conversion, the programmer requests particular type of conversion, then in that scenario we say it is explicit conversion or programmer defined conversion. He says that I need this in this particular type. Okay, and normally a programmer will not say it if it's automatically done implicitly. But if it can't be done implicitly, then the programmer forces a particular conversion. But to do all these conversions, we are going to be making use of some more built-in functions. What were the few built-in functions that we have already learned? Can somebody tell me? Yes, 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 yes. We have print, we have input, we had len, we had type, we had ID. So these were all the functions, built-in functions that we have seen. So we are going to be having some more built-in functions which will help me do the conversion. Out of these functions that I'm going to note here, 2 you have already used when I did certain programs. The first built-in function is called the int function. What does the int function do? Converts a float to an integer or a string to an integer. But the string has to contain integers, okay? It cannot be saying hello and you're going to convert it to an int. Not possible. So in this example, probably I could say is, if you write int, okay, and you write, let's say, 15.75. Now, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to convert 15.75, which is a float, to an integer. So what answer am I going to be getting? I'm going to be getting the answer 15. Okay. What if I wrote int and 15 now is a string? How do I know it's a string? Because it's written in quotes. Can int convert a string to an integer? Yes. So 15, which is a string, now gets converted to an integer. When I say an integer, it's obviously going to mean 15, but without the quotes, because it is no more a string, it's an integer. And how do we represent integers in Python? By just writing it. So what does the int function do? Converts a float or a string to an integer. You remember writing int with the input function in the first chapter when we did some programs. Why? Because I told you the input function reads data. You said enter the radius. The user enters, let's say 5, but input function reads 5 as a string. So it will, technically be putting double quotes next to 5. But what will I do with 5 as a string for my calculations? So what did I write before input? Int. So what did the int function do? Takes the data and converts it to an integer. But remember, it should be convertible, okay? You can't take a complex number and convert it to an integer. Neither can you take a string which is saying hello and say convert it to an int. The string must contain integers to get it converted to a string. Is that clear? Okay. Next, what do we see is the float data type. Float function. The float function, like the int function, we've also used it previously. Float will convert an integer to a float easy, no? Convert 3 to 3.0. Or if a string contains a floating point value, it will still convert it. For example, if your string is 13.5, but it's a string, float will just convert it to 13.5. Clear? So float function converts integers as well as strings that contain in floating point values to float data type. Okay, let's go ahead. So these two we had already seen, when we were doing the small program when in the first chapter. Okay, so let's just get ahead. So what are the next functions we need to see? The next function is called the complex function. If int converts to an integer, float converts to a float, then what would complex do? Complex would convert it to a complex data type. Okay, suppose now, but how does it convert? Okay, suppose now for this, let me just use a text box here so it becomes easy. Suppose I write complex and in bracket 2. Now 2 is what? An integer. So what will this do? It will convert the integer to a complex by writing 2 plus 0j. That's the conversion. Okay, suppose I write complex and I write 1.3. Okay, how is this going to be converted to a complex? It's going to be 1.3 plus 0j. Okay, this complex function also takes two parameters. If you write 2, 4, what does it mean? What complex number does it convert it to? 2 plus 4j. Similarly, if you used a floating point number, I could even use mixed, okay? Like for example, I say 1.5, 2. What would this mean? What kind of a complex number am I generating? 1.5 1.5 plus 2.0 j. Is that clear? So integers or floating point values can be converted to complex. This complex can have 1 or 2 parameters. What do I mean by that line? Can you see the first 2 line? It has only 1 element in the bracket. The next 2 time it has 2 elements in the bracket. It can also convert strings which are having numbers in it. Now, for example, if I write complex 12.5, okay? So now 12.5 is not a floating point number. Remember, it's a string. So what is the complex number that it will generate is 12.0j. Is that clear? But if your first parameter is a string, then you can't have the second parameter. So you can't write a 12.5 string, comma, another string or another number also. If the first element is a string, then you can only supply one element. But if the first element is an int or a float, you can supply the second element representing the imaginary part of the complex number. Clear? Okay, so then what do we have next? Next we have is, okay, we have str and we have bool. Str, what will it do? It converts numbers to, or boolean to a string. Let me just clear my annotations so things are not hidden. Okay, what do I mean? If I have str of 1, 1 will remain 1, not one, but it will be treated as a string, means internally it will assume it has quotes. Str of 12.5 will be internally treated as quotes 12.5. If you write str of true, it will be treated as quotes true. Is that clear? And the last function is called bool. What does the bool function do? Now we know, converts it to boolean. But you're wondering, how can you convert a number to a boolean? Because boolean stands for true or false. We have also learned that all non-zero numbers are always treated as true, and all zero or empty values are going to be treated as false. So if you write this particular statement, let's say you write bool in bracket 3.5. So what am I taking the data for bool as? 3.5, which is a float. What answer will I get? It will give me true because it's a non-zero number. Okay, and remember we're converting it to boolean. So we can only convert to two things, either true or false. But if I have bool, bool has to be, remember, Python is case sensitive. So these are all small letters. You can't write it in any other form. Suppose you write bool and you write an empty string. Okay. Empty string is treated as false. So this will give you false. Clear? So I hope operator precedence, expressions, evaluation of operators, and data type conversions, which is either implicit or explicit. Now this data type conversions could be asked for board exams, okay? And this explicit way of data type conversion is also called typecasting. So if they ask you what is typecasting, is explicit method is called typecasting, where the programmer is involved. Just because I wrote the function bool, it converted to a bool. It doesn't do anything automatically. But what does implicit mean? That it is going to be doing it automatically. Is that clear? So I hope you're following the first, the second, and the third part. Though we have not actually got into programming, the minute we finish this chapter has one more part. The minute we finish this chapter, probably we'll jump into, like hard code. Sorry, what did I say? Hardcore programming. Okay, so see you in the next video. Bye-bye.